Alright, so for this mobility, we're going to start in cat-cow. You're going to have your knees underneath your hips and push your hips back towards your heels. You can have a blanket or a block underneath your forehead, but you can relax the neck. You can have your arms outstretched, or you could even drop your elbows down to the floor. And you're going to take 3 really deep breaths in through the nose, down the throat, down the ribs, into the hip creases, and then either out through your nose or your mouth. Nice deep breaths 3 times through. And then after that third inhale, we're going to come up to a tabletop. So I'm going to turn my hands to the fingertips just touch. That's about shoulder distance. You can maneuver if you need to. Wrists, elbows, and shoulders are stacked. Knees and hips are stacked over each other. Cow, we're going to exhale, round through the spine, tuck the tailbone. Inhale, lower the belly, open up through the chest, look up, and then exhale. Go with your breath. This does not have to be a big movement, especially for the first round. It might feel very stiff. That's okay. You're just going to do the best you can. Go back into child's pose. I've dropped my elbows here. That's an option. Always go with what feels right, with what you want to do. If you need to wiggle the hips, drop the elbows, relax the neck, take those deep resetting breaths here. Then we're going to come up and we're going to do this again. Inhale into cat, inhale into cow, exhale into cat. Maybe think about trying to articulate that just a little bit. Draw those shoulders back. Exhale, round the spine, tuck the tailbone. Inhale, open up through the chest, drop the belly. Back to child's pose. Maybe lengthen out through the hands, push into the floor, stretch out the upper back. Nice deep breaths. Let that breath go all through your torso, down through the hips. Maybe think about breathing into the knees even. Really make that breath go as far out as you can. We're going to do this cat-cow again. Inhale, open up the chest. Exhale, round the spine, tuck the tailbone. Inhale, open up. Exhale, exhale, everything out. Then back to child's pose, another 3 deep breaths. And then after that third breath, we're going to come up into a lizard pose. So I'm going to step my right foot out to my right hand. You might have to heel toe it up a little bit, or you can physically move your hand up, physically move your foot up toward the hand. I'm doing a little cat-cow here. It just feels really good in the hips to open it up. If it's not feeling good for you, you do not have to do it. And then we're going to swoop that leg back. Do the same side on the left. And again, you can do a little cat-cow. It's not going to be big. It's going to feel very small compared to what you just did. Maybe a little bit bigger than what I do. But it's an option. And you can have blocks under your hands if you feel like you need to be propped up a little bit. Your shoulder should be about knee height if that feels okay, but it doesn't have to be. Go back into child's pose, and then we're going to do this again on the right side with a little bit of some added bonuses if you'd like. So we're going to come up to that lizard on the right, stepping that right foot up to the right hand. I'm going to tuck my back toes, lift my back leg, elongate through the top of my head, and I'm engaging my quad, really pushing my weight into my heel. I'm not necessarily pushing back, but I'm lifting through that entire back leg and really activating it. Coming back, I'm going to go into a child's pose. You don't have to. Child's pose is always an option between moves. If you need to move it along a little bit, if you're a little low on time, skip to some of the child's poses. We're going to go to the left, draw that leg up, activate it, activate the quad. You can see my heel is lifted. I still have a bend in the back leg ever so slightly, but that back leg is still very active. I'm squeezing my glutes, quads, and my calf. Bring it down. Go into child's pose for some resetting breaths. And then we're going to add in some twists with this lizard pose. So you can step that right foot up to the right hand. I'm going to bring my right hand up toward the ceiling on an inhale, grounding through my left hand. You can have a block here. You can hold this for a couple breaths, but on an exhale, you're going to swoop your hands between your thigh and your left arm in that area that's created by your torso and your left hand. And you're going to touch the ground around your left hand. It might be a little before, it might be right behind, or it might be after. And you can do this 3 times. Inhale, you're going to lift back up. Exhale, you're going to bring that hand down. Good. And then we go back. I'm just going to switch to my other side. Same thing, grounding through the right hand and my left foot, and then reaching up with my left hand. Now I'm looking at my left hand, but if that doesn't feel good, you can look toward the floor. If your neck doesn't feel like looking upward and twisting like that, look more down. That's perfectly fine. It's less strain. Same thing here. Inhale, arm goes back up. Exhale, twisting through the chest, bringing that hand over. Nice and controlled. It's all through basically your rib cage, trying not to move your hips too much. And then we'll bring it back into a child's pose. Now, once you're done with that, you can come onto your back, and this is a move I would only recommend doing after you've done this or a lot of other hip work. You're going to cross your right leg over your left so your knees come close together. If they don't fit exactly in, that's perfectly fine. And then bring your knees up to your chest. And you can grab either your thighs, your shins, your ankles, or your feet. And then you're just going to flex your feet up and pull it in gently. You're trying to flatten your entire back of the head, neck, back, and tailbone on the floor so you can lengthen that tailbone toward the floor. You might have a blanket underneath the back of your head if that feels better. And then once you're done, take a couple breaths and do some windshield wipers. Feet are wide, knees together, going back and forth. Just opening up those hips a little bit. Then we're going to do the same thing, but on the left side. So left leg goes over the right. Bring the knees toward the chest. Flex the feet. Grab wherever is comfortable. And then gently pull toward yourself. Again, lengthening through the floor, really finding that grounding posture on the floor. Let the tailbone sink down, let the back be heavy, let the back of the head melt into the floor or the blanket. Release, nice and controlled, and then you can do some windshield wipers. Breathe. Then you can, if you want, you can also do a happy baby. So draw the knees into the chest, and then knees go out toward the armpits. You can stay here. You can grab behind the thighs, the shins, or if you can, grab your feet or your ankles, and then you're trying. So ideally, the tops of your feet and the tops of your thighs are parallel, and they're parallel to the floor or the ceiling. If they don't, that's not a big deal. You just want a nice wide stance. Grabbing, you can feel the hips open, and you're drawing that tailbone again back to the floor. You're finding that groundedness through the floor. Here I'm kind of rocking back and forth. If that feels okay, kicking one foot up at a time, just stretching out the back of my legs. This is an option. You don't have to. If it doesn't feel good, if you're tight, don't do it. And then bring the knees into the chest and down to the floor. So I'm going to show you the next one that you can do if you feel you have the time. It's another hip opener, and we're going to add some shoulder stretches. I'm going to show you Hero's Pose or Virasana. It's a sitting posture, and you could just do this, and then you don't have to move your legs. And I have a blanket for my knees. I've got 2 blocks, one stacked on top of the other. And I will show you a different position of this so you can kind of see it. But I'm putting my knees about hip width distance, and then the tops of my feet are flat, shins are fairly flat to the floor, and then I'm sitting my tail, not my tailbone per se, but I'm sitting on top of that block. In yoga we call it the sits bones or the perineum. It's kind of that area that's like right beneath your butt kind of. And I'm sitting up nice and tall through the crown of my head, so top of the head, through the chest, through the hips, nice and open, no pressure. I could sit in this position for quite a while. I'm very supported here. Some people can do it with less blocks. I need 2, so for me that's comfortable. And then take either a TheraBand or if you have a towel. And here's where I've decided I'm going to show you the side view. So I have my blocks kind of stacked up. One is low and then one's kind of high and horizontal. So I think I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you one block. Some people are fine in this position. If you have tight hips, you're going to need a second block in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's up. Just make sure you're supported. Don't let it fall. You want a nice neutral spine, nice neutral neck. You want the roof of your mouth to be over your chest and your hips. Here I'm going to be on 2 blocks, slightly adjusted, and then fire log pose. So one shin is just over the other. My knees are underneath of my hips. That's what it should be. So good. So coordinated. And here we go. Get in position. And if you don't find this comfortable, do the hero's pose. But if your shins can go over each other and you have this kind of semi-cross-legged pose and it's comfortable, that's perfectly fine. My left leg is on top. And I'm going to reach my left hand up. So my elbow is pointing up. And that TheraBand is going down my spine. So you can see I have a pretty erect spine. There's not much curvature there. There might be a little bit, that's normal. I don't want my head to be pushed forward by my hand. And I don't want to push back. I want a nice, neutral spine, and I don't want to flare the ribs, so tuck in those ribs a little bit. And then you're going to reach around with your right hand, and then you're just going to walk your hands closer together, whatever that looks like, however that feels. Getting a nice little shoulder stretch while you're sitting in this upright posture, opening up the front of your body as well as the shoulders. And just take some nice deep breaths in through the collarbones, opening up the collarbones, so like right above your chest, down through the ribs, stomach, hips. If you're in hero's pose, that first one I showed you, you don't have to switch legs. If you're in fire log pose, switch legs. So your right shin is on top. You have your TheraBand or your towel. Right arm comes up, down, and then I'm going to reach around with my left hand, grab the band, still trying to keep a very erect posture. And inching them closer. And again, breathing, trying not to flare the ribs. Deep breaths. Same thing here. You could hold this for, I would probably hold it for at least 3. You could do 5. You could do 10 if you wanted. If it's comfortable and you're getting a good stretch. And then slowly come out of it. Don't fall off your block. Roll your shoulders. And then whatever way is comfortable, slowly come out of that seated posture. And then if you'd like, I'm going to show you some standing stretches that you can do if you'd like. If not, you can also just take a Shavasana, so you're just laying on the floor, and take a few breaths there. So we're going to start with some standing side bends. So come up, feet are hip width apart, arms come up, biceps to the ears. Hands together. We're going to root through the left foot. Exhale, bend to the right. Inhale, come up to center. Exhale, go to the left, pushing through that right foot. Inhale, come up to center. Then step the right foot over the left. Bend forward. You can either touch the ground or use blocks for support. You can always use blocks for support. Either a neutral spine, or you can relax the head, either reaching for the floor, or you can grab opposite elbows. And take a few deep breaths here. Pull your right hip back, left hip forward just a little, and you'll feel more of a stretch. And then we're going to go back to the side bends. Feet are about hip width apart. Inhale, look up. Exhale off to the right. Inhale up. Exhale off to the left. You could do more of these in a set. I just did one, but you could do more if you wanted. And then cross the left foot over the right. Roll forward. Folding over, creasing at the hip. You can use the blocks. You can touch the floor. You could also support yourself on your shins or your thighs. Whatever feels right for you is perfectly fine. And then when you're done, you're going to inhale, come up. Use blocks for support if you need to. You can repeat this entire sequence if you need to. Otherwise, that's your flow. Enjoy.